Hello, everyone. My name is Chris Gabbard, and I wrote a memoir titled A Life Beyond Reason, A Disabled Boy and His Father's Enlightenment. This book gives an account of my time serving as a caregiver to my late son, August. Before I begin, let me give you some background information. There are 11.2 million children with significant disabilities and/or complex medical needs living in the United States. Put another way, that's 1 out of every 5 households caring for such children. A 2014 study found that the average weekly number of hours the parents devoted to caring for a child with significant disabilities was 33, and the average monthly out-of-pocket expenditure was $348 over what a typically developing child would require. Numerous studies indicate that in such households, mothers serve as the primary caregivers of children with disabilities. The number of fathers assuming the primary caregiver role is increasing, but slowly. I'm going to be talking today about one such family caring for a significantly impaired child, my own. I will be speaking about caregiving from a father's perspective, describing what it did for me. Let me confess at the outset that that the caregiver role was thrust and forced upon me. But that said, I reap rewards I did not anticipate receiving. So the theme of my book, and also this talk, is that of normalizing the idea of men as caregivers, because I believe that doing so will help families and society, but especially it'll be beneficial for men themselves. So here's my family story. August was my wife, Eileen's, and my first child. He was born in March 1999. Prior to the birth, Eileen's pregnancy had proceeded uneventfully with all signs pointing to healthy development. Unfortunately, the birth itself was disastrous. The delivery team missed important signs. The baby was born unresponsive, had to be resuscitated, a procedure which took a number of minutes. By the time the newborn took his first breath, the damage had been done. Afterward, no one at the hospital, which was the University of California, San Francisco Medical Center, the attending physician was Dr. Sarah Kilpatrick, would tell us what went wrong in the delivery room. However, the medical staff did inform us of our baby's diagnoses, the most important of which was hypoxic ischemic encephalopathy, or HIE. HIE results from a lack of blood and oxygen prior to or during delivery, causing brain injury. Doctors can be tight-lipped about medical mistakes. Everything that Eileen and I know today was not apparent to us in 1999 or even 4 years afterward. 16 years after the birth, in 2015, and an anesthesiologist with extensive knowledge of obstetric cases informed us that August's birth sounded like a classic example of labor dystocia, also known as an obstructed labor. Following the birth, Eileen and I took our extremely brain-injured baby home and named him August, which means esteemed or venerable. As I enumerate the list of his official diagnoses, I'm going to sound like a zealous district attorney, overcharging a murder suspect, piling on charge after charge, but here goes. Hypoxic ischemic encephalopathy, cerebral palsy, spastic quadriplegia, profound mental retardation, cortical visual impairment, microcephaly, osteopenia, and seizure disorder. During August's 14 years on Earth, he was nonverbal, incontinent, spastically paralyzed, and cortically blind. He could not sit in a chair the way a typically developing child would. He needed upper trunk support, and so he had to be secured in his wheelchair with straps holding his shoulders and chest in place. Propped upright, his head lolled, falling forward and backward, and he drooled because the spasticity affecting his mouth prevented him from managing his saliva. When he was lying on the floor, he was unable to crawl, scoot around, hold himself up, roll over, or even touch his toes. And if someone were to put him down in one spot on the floor and leave him there, he would be found in the same location an hour later, give or take a few inches. Moreover, he never improved intellectually. Over the years, his developmental gap continued to widen. He was like a baby who kept growing bigger and bigger without any increase in skills and abilities. By the time he was an adult, he'd have the mental ability of a 1-year-old. Because of August's significant disabilities, Eileen and I undertook 14 years of extreme caregiving. During this time, our family nearly went bankrupt due to a lack of social safety net supports. We nearly went bankrupt also on account of a California law called MECRA, or the Medical Injury Compensation Reform Act of 1975. But that's a story for another day. August sadly passed away at the Wolfson Children's Hospital in Jacksonville, Florida, 14 years after he was born on October 15th, 2013, as a delayed outcome of the way he was delivered. My son's tragic encounter with the healthcare system did not break my belief in American medicine so much as end my blind faith in it. Because of August and my experiences with him, I began to understand the importance of caregiving, the just demands of the disability rights movement, the politics inherent in both caregiving and disability, and the need for a robust social safety net for all families, but especially for those caring for significantly impaired children. And these are stories I tell in A Life Beyond Reason. However, the most important story I tell concerns my own transformation. When I was a young man, I imagined that loving and wanting love were weaknesses to be overcome by force of will. Only weak-minded people needed love. I attempted to live my life guided solely by reason, and I assumed that physical reality was the only reality that mattered. I accepted at face value Socrates' proposition that the unexamined life was not worth living, and I adhered to a Peter Singerish utilitarianism. Piloted by this worldview, I took for granted that the only logical thing that a rational person could do, if burdened with caring for a child with significant disabilities like August, would be to smother him with a pillow. After all, only a fool would waste his time caring for a fool. Life, I discovered, was not so simple. For despite the troubled state of his body and mind, August was a jolly little fellow, the most cheerful person you can imagine, a munchkin delightful to be with. And when I realized that terminating his life was not only unacceptable, but repugnant, I ceased trying to live solely according to reason. And this is why I titled the book, A Life Beyond Reason. It's not that reason doesn't matter anymore. It's just not all that matters. At the time of August's birth, I didn't know that the baby would develop into a beguiling little fellow, that he would elicit great love from me and from many other people, or that, like a spirit guide, he would introduce me to a separate reality. And I didn't know that this separate reality was actually the world of my own heart, my ability to give and receive love. In light of this transformation, and despite what extreme caregiving required, I never felt, or felt for long, that caring for August was pointless. I felt this way because I had begun to see that it's not the unexamined life that's not worth living, but the life without love. I was fortunate to have fallen in love with August. I was extraordinarily lucky that lightning struck. And that is what caregiving showed this father. So my message for men is, the more you lean into the job of caregiving, the more you're going to get out of it. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.